Hello, my name is Anna Smart, and I will be talking about St. Michael's Church today and how I think it should be nominated for the National Register of Historic Places. I will be telling the history of St. Michael's and kind of its beginnings in Old Town, as well as its affiliation with the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. I will then discuss qualities that St. Michael's possesses, all of which make it a contender for the National Register of Historic Places. So, the reasons I think St. Michael's should be nominated for the National Register of Historic Places, um, there are many. The first is the architecture. The interior and exterior are all very beautiful and wonderful examples of architectural design, as well as Old Town being an important historical town in its own right. And then lastly, and what I think is the most important reason, is its affiliation with the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. This is one of the most infamous events in Chicago history and has become a very important part of the culture here. So to start, let's talk about Old Town Chicago. Old Town was inhabited by Native American tribes such as the Potawatomi and Ottawa tribes, but like many places, they were removed. And in the 1850s, German settlers moved into the area and established a town called Northtown. It was mainly a farming land. It was called the Cabbage Patch. And then boundaries were created in World War II. There were three streets that created a triangle, and this was called the Old Town Triangle District uh, by the Chicago Civil Defense Agency. So now it's dubbed the Old Town Triangle, and Old Town has become a hub for art, culture, music, and its hip residents. So who is St. Michael? St. Michael comes from the name St. Michael comes from two sources. First, it comes from the archangel, obviously left, the archangel St. Michael, but it was also from the property owner, Michael Diversey. Michael Diversey was a German Catholic immigrant who was an incredibly successful brewer in Chicago at the time. He had generously donated the land that St. Michael's is built upon in Old Town and sold even more land to the church later down the line. And this is him on the right. So that first building that was built on the property donated by Michael Diversey was originally dedicated in 1852, and it was a parish for German Catholics, the German Catholics of Chicago. It was only 40 by 60 inches, or 40 by 60 feet, and was built out of wood, and it was very, very small and very, very modest. So when it was first founded, there was constant conflicts between the parishioners. Germany was not united at this time. It was made of different nation states. So this meant that there was animosity between these different German groups, and they did not get along, regardless of where they came from. They had this division amongst them, and they did not get along. And the Redemptorist Brothers and Fathers of Chicago took charge of the parish in 1860s. And they were really able to bring all of these German Catholics together and unite them and create this really tight-knit community and save the parish, basically. So thanks to the Redemptorists and the unity they instilled, the small space became very popular and naturally needed more space. The new building was constructed in 1869 in the Bavarian style, and it was made with locally made sandstone bricks, which is really important rather than wood or the more expensive exported materials. It was locally made sandstone bricks. And the building featured a 200-foot steeple and was the tallest building in Chicago from 1869 to 1885. So there was no extra funding for this new building. It was mostly paid for as a result of the door-to-door fundraising done by redemptorists. Because of this, the new building, while looking grand from the outside, was made with cheaper materials, like I said, and was fairly bare on the inside. So this is a rendering of what it looked like, a drawing. And while it looks nice, it was made with cheap material, it was made fast, and the inside, besides pews, was basically empty. So then the Great Chicago Fire happened. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 started on October 8th. There are many rumors about how the fire started, or who started it, or why it started, all which have become Chicago lore. But it has been tracked back to the O'Leary farm in South Chicago. There were around 300 casualties from this fire, and 17,500 buildings destroyed, over 73 miles of street, and it even jumped the Chicago River. It burned over the Chicago River and kept going up north. Only a few of the buildings in the fire's path were left standing. The societal impacts of the fire were endless. First, it left 1/3 of the population homeless. And as new buildings were being rebuilt, there was new construction rules and laws put into place to prevent future destruction, like wood was no longer allowed in construction, and sandstone and terracotta bricks were introduced into the majority of rebuilds. This was known as Chicago's Great Rebuild, and architects flocked from all over the nation when they heard of this opportunity to kind of build the city from the ground up, and we can attribute a lot of our famous architecture here in Chicago now to that Great Rebuild. So, what was left of St. Michael's? Because St. Michael's was built using that locally made sandstone brick, 3 of the church walls stood after the fire destroyed everything in its path. It is known to be one of the very few buildings that has survived the fire. And even though the bell became a big bronze puddle on the ground and everything within the church was lost, the fact that these 3 walls remained standing was a miracle. So there were a lot of areas of Old Town that were not destroyed by the fire, but there were also areas such as where the church was located that were unrepairable. So Old Town quickly rebuilt, and a lot of the neighborhoods that got destroyed actually decided to rebuild their homes in the same style and same manner as what hadn't been burned down. So that meant that some of them even went to the extent of working around the new laws and built the exact same houses, the same cottages, which seems kind of crazy, but they wanted everything to look the way it was before. So St. Michael's was reconstructed, and it was one of the fastest reconstructions in Chicago, largely because of those 3 walls that still remained. It was rededicated 1 year and 3 days after the fire, and its new building was designed around the 3 standing walls, so those were integrated into the new design. So once it was rebuilt, St. Michael's once again flourished. It became the hub of the community. Michael Diversey sold more and more plots of land surrounding St. Michael's to the church, and now they own almost the entire block. The parish and redemptorists at one time built and owned, obviously, the church, a high school, a grade school, a social hall, a rectory, and a German newspaper company, all within the same block. So they really had kind of this monopoly and was a community hub for any type of communal space that was needed. So the high school, which is actually in this picture, it's the smaller building to the east of the church. It still stands, and it has been turned into apartments through adaptive reuse. So those are condominiums right there, but that used to be the high school. The interior is there are 16 stained glass windows on display created by a German company called Meyer Window Art Institute from Munich. This company is still in Germany, and they still come over to Chicago and restore the windows whenever they are needed, and that is a very expensive and very grueling process that takes a really long time. There are 5 Baroque-styled altars that were commissioned by E. Hackner and Sons, a Bavarian woodworking company. These altars are so large and so heavy that they actually have their own foundation built into the structure of the church. A funny story about the biggest altar that's at the very back in this picture. As Hackner was making it, the public was able to come in and out of the church. And the public, as they saw Hackner making this, really didn't like it. They were complaining that he was ruining it, and they did not agree with his style at all, to the point where he actually had to take a tarp and cover the entire altar as he made it. And after he left, when more parishioners were coming in, just to hide it from the view of everyone. And then when he was finally done and he revealed the altar, everyone instantly fell in love, changed their opinions, and he became more popular than ever and was commissioned to make a lot more altars of this style at different Catholic churches. So in 1912, the outside of St. Michael's was renovated. Henry Gall, a Chicagoan architect, created the plans for the new St. Michael's, which is what you see here. These are the actual plans from 1912 from Michael Gall. His work can be seen at many other Catholic churches around Chicago, such as St. Benedict Church and St. Nicholas Church. These renovations included a 290-foot steeple, 5 new bells in their bell tower, and beautiful limestone trim. Over the years, the bell tower has undergone many reconstructions. This is because St. Michael's is actually built upon sand, kind of like a sand pit. And after many, many years, the structure will start to lean. And in order to comply with city regulations, it has to be readjusted every time that happens. So today, St. Michael's is still a very important community hub. It's the pride of Old Town. There's kind of a saying that if you can hear the bells of St. Michael's, you know you're in Old Town. And once you've gone past where you can hear the bells, you're outside of Old Town. So it's kind of this communal district line of how you tell if you're in Old Town is by St. Michael's bells. So the question remains, should St. Michael's be added to the National Register of Historic Places? In Illinois, a place must fit into one of the following: significant architectural design, association with important person or persons, or association with significant history. And I believe that St. Michael's checks all of these boxes. With its Romanesque style exterior by Gall and its Bavarian style interior by Hackner, this structure exemplifies magnificent architectural design and is a really, really popular spot for tourists to come if they're looking for examples of beautiful architecture, and it is just stunning. It also has relations to an important person. Michael Diversey is a well-known person here in Chicago, having not only this church, but a very popular Chicago street, the Diversey Parkway, named after him as well, and a stop on the Red Line. Diversey was one of the most influential business owners, not only in the German immigrant community, but in the Chicago economy as a whole before the fire in 1871. So the fact that he donated the land that started St. Michael's is a really big deal. And finally, and what I think is the most compelling argument, is its association with the Chicago fire of 1871. This is a notorious event in Chicago that has really embedded itself into the culture here. To have survived the fire and then rebuilt using the same 3 walls that were left standing makes the bones of the church that we have now over in Old Town almost 175 years old, which is really incredible. And so few buildings in Chicago can claim that they survived the flames of the Chicago fire, and St. Michael's still has the scorched bricks to prove that they did just that. The resilience of St. Michael's at the time of the fire brings a great sense of pride to the parishioners. At the church, they have a display that contains ash from the burnt buildings to serve as a reminder of the history of the building that the building holds. So in this picture, that little compartment at the bottom holds ash from the St. Michael's Church that burned down. So Old Town Triangle District is actually already on the National Register of Historic Places. St. Michael's is listed on their report of architectural significance because it's within the district. So using this information, St. Michael's is already starting the process of applying for the City of Chicago landmark status. And it's their hope to nominate St. Michael's for the National Register after that in time. So what you see here in this picture is actually the document from the National Register of Historic Places for the Old Town Triangle District. And it says architectural and historical significance. And then it lists St. Michael's Church, and it has pages and pages of information about why it's so important. So even just using that is a clear argument for as to why it should have its own recognition as a historic place. So St. Michael's is important to the culture of the Old Town community. It hosts up to 85 weddings a year and rents its parish center out for community events. They put on events on their enclosed lawns, such as Easter egg hunts, park days, concerts, and more. And the Old Town residents actually use the clock tower and the bells in their daily life. Jim Mayers, the director of facility, said that if they have their bells or their clock tower off in any way, they'll get concerned calls from Old Town residents that are saying, like, you need to get up there and change that. That's not right. Like, if he forgets to change it after daylight savings, people will call him and be like, I missed lunch because I was waiting for the bell and I never heard it, or I was late to work because the clock was off as I was driving past. So it's really an integral part of this community. And it is a place where people come together. In its past, it's brought people together. In its present, it brings people together. And this is why I think it should be nominated for the National Register of Historic Places. And I would also like to give a special thanks to Jim Mayers, the director of facilities, for all of his hard work and dedication to the parish, but also for all of his support with my project. He sent me documents and pictures from the archives. He met with me and he took me on a private tour of the building and up into the tower. So that was really special and really helped a lot. And that's it. Thank you so much.